Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Create You podcast. If you guys don't know, I actually put the podcast up on a couple different platforms. So it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Player FM, Overcast, Castro, Castbox, and Podfriends. So if you guys use any of these, you can find the podcast there. I guess I'll leave a link to the most popular ones in the description. I guess wherever you watch it, I appreciate your support. Um, I think it's really cool that it's on different podcast platforms because I don't know, looking at that I'm like, whoa, like this is wild. Like I'm really on there. And I believe this is episode 3, so I'm pretty excited for this one. Uh, it has been quite a while since the last podcast, and there's a few things that I wanted to kind of mention, or there's a few things that I wanted to discuss, I guess, and a lot of them are relating to kind of why I've kind of fallen off, I feel like. So I guess we'll just kind of get into it. I'm glad to kind of be back and be, here discussing whatever with you guys. It is always pretty fun, and I do enjoy it a lot. So, um, first things first, I guess most recently I've been editing my vlogs, and yeah, and the vlogs they've been pretty fun actually. Editing was very like different, challenging, I guess, and ultimately like it was very rewarding once I got done and I kind of watched it back through. I was like, wow, like this is really good. Like I actually genuinely liked my work, and I feel like I felt very proud of the work that I put into it. So that's out. If you guys want to watch that, I'll leave that in the description, and you can check it out. And you can check out my main channel if you haven't been there yet. Got some stuff over there. Got some gaming, different things like that. So if you're into kind of random stuff, then you can go check that out. So yeah, I've been kind of on VR chat recently because I was doing. I can't speak too much on the actual study, but it was a focus group study, and I was basically required to use VR. My little brothers have the Oculus Quest 2, and I used this in the past, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. One of my buddies had one, and before I had anything in my apartment, it was just like open floor, so like you could literally just walk around and do whatever you want. Very fun, very fun. I didn't have internet at the time, so like I could only really just play a few different games, and I didn't really know that you could go into like worlds with people and different like virtual worlds and hang out with people, talk to them, and just really do whatever. So I had ended up going to a friend's house when I had this Oculus back at the time, and played in the world, and like it was just so fun. And eventually my friend got it back and he sold it, but I had a really good time playing with these people. And once I got the headset recently and I was playing around, I kind of was like, dang, this is like actually enjoyable. The only really downside, I guess, for me and for a lot of people, which people do say that you kind of like you kind of adjust to it eventually. But for me, I really can't for some reason. Like I've played it a handful of times already, and every time I'm playing for, a certain amount of time, I start getting a huge headache, and I feel like nauseous and sick, and I'm like literally just thinking about it. It's so weird. If I think about the headset, putting it on, and playing the games, I just get like a headache. Like it's a very weird sensation that I can like recall that and then get a headache. Like it's so weird. But yeah, so I've been playing that, but I've been using my PC instead. And boy, like it's crazy how addictive it is. Like it's just like it's very fun to get on there and do random stuff. Like I just kind of go in there and troll a lot of the times. And you meet a lot of different people. I met some really cool people on there. Some very nice people as well. Like just you can literally talk about anything, it seems like, and there's so many different worlds that you can go into. If you're trying to play different games, if you want to go to like a world and dance around, or if you want to go to like a chill little house and play like songs or movies and stuff, like you can do almost anything, it seems like. You can change like your avatars. Very cool. So I've been really overindulging in that the past couple days, and it's so weird. And I was like kind of curious. I was like, why is this so like I guess addictive for me? I think a big part of it is like I don't really have much of a social life as of now. I kind of just work. When I come home, you know, ideally, not every time, but I'd like to come home, and if I'm not like messing about, then you know it'll be working on YouTube, and whatever that means, whether it's researching or it's like editing, recording, um, whatever it is, like that's ideally what I'm supposed to be doing. Like that's what I want to be doing, um, and that's probably what's best for me, honestly. But uh, yeah, so I've been. What am I talking about, bro? I completely lost my train of thought there, but kind of going back to not really having a social life. It's because of these things that I'm doing. Like I'm just very busy, and that's kind of the sacrifice that I'm making in order to, I guess, help my future self. Um, so like, I don't know. I guess life's kind of like that. There's just a series of trade-offs that you have to make. Like, I could have a social life, but I can't. When I did have a social life, I didn't have time to record and edit because if I'm hanging out with people, there, obviously I don't have time to edit or research or whatever it is. So that's kind of the price I pay. So when I was playing this, I guess it kind of fulfilled that void for me, and I could just talk to anybody, like anybody, and just be myself and troll or talk to people about um, deeper subjects such as like mental issues, mental health issues, or like therapy or whatever, like just anything. So I got to understand people a bit better, and I think a lot of the answers are typically the same. Like I've heard when I ask people like, why do you play VR or whatever, um, they'll typically say something like, oh, my friends got me into it, or like I'm just here to mess around and just troll or whatever, or I'm here because I'm like kind of like lonely. It seems. I think that's more of like the tone that I get typically, even if they're kind of like saying that they're just trolling. Like it almost seems like if it feels somewhat of a void for these people, they're kind of lonely, which is okay. Like everybody gets lonely, and I think that's normal to some extent. Like people are social, like human beings are just social, and you have to interact with people, otherwise you kind of go crazy. And I think I've alluded to this before in past podcasts, but or past episodes, is about this hierarchy. And basically, like in one of the levels, there's this sense of community and belonging, like friendships, intimate relationships, things like that. And it's very hard to get to the upper levels of the hierarchy if you don't have the bottom ones. And at the very bottom, it's like food, shelter, safety, water, like very like standard needs that are like that you have to have. So yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of fulfilling this void. Somebody I met, they were kind of like dancing. They have like a whole life on this VR like platform, and I don't know if she makes a living off it, but she dances on there, and people actually pay her money, which is crazy to me. Like I would never think that that's actually a thing. She has like full body tracking, and like she can move her legs, and like it's crazy the way it just works. Like you're like kind of wrapping your head around it, like visualizing like there's somebody in the game who's doing something in real life, like they're moving their arms like this or whatever, like they're just doing different movements. Because you have the controllers in your hands, but the other ones like it has like something around their waist and then their legs and things like that, and so it really picks up all your movement. It's crazy. And she was like dancing and stuff, and we're like talking, and I'm trying to find like an avatar because it was like my first day there. Like I didn't really know, and so she was helping me out, kind of getting me like used to the game or like getting to understand things. And she started telling me like, this is how I would dance if I go to the clubs, and like you don't go out and stuff. And she's like, no, not really. And basically, she was kind of telling me like, and I don't think anybody will ever know who this is, so I think it's okay to talk about. But she was saying that she has like a fear of going outside, like she's kind of lonely, and I didn't really pry at that because I didn't know how much I should really like dig into that because I didn't know her that well. Plus, it was my first day, and like I don't know, I just didn't really dig into it. But it kind of got me to thinking, and as I observed while I was playing, as well as kind of maybe fulfilling some of my own needs, I got to maybe understand these people because in a similar sense, like I said, I'm kind of lonely myself. Like I wish that I had people around me, like friends. I do have family that I would say I see pretty often. I see them every week, at the very least. because these people are very important to me. But with friends, it's very hard to manage all that. I think, like when you have a job and you work all day, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm on top of YouTube, as well as like maintaining my own personal well-being, whether that's stretching, taking care of my dog, prepping my food for the week, cleaning up the house, taking care of bills or whatever it is, like just different things in my life. It's kind of a lot to manage all those different things, unless I was to be able to allocate, some of these things. Like if I made a living off of YouTube, then I could cut my job out and have more time. But it's very hard to do that if you have bills to pay. Um, so while I'm like kind of observing these people, I realize like a lot of them are like longing for something deeper to fulfill this void of like emptiness from people. Maybe they're socially awkward. Maybe they got I've seen that there's like a streamer who has like a autoimmune disease, and basically like if she goes outside, then she can get sick like really easily, and eventually like that can put her in the hospital. It could potentially get worse than that. um, so that could be another thing that people are suffering from. um, Maybe they're in positions like me where they're doing stuff and they kind of don't really have a social life. Maybe they I think a big one is like social like anxiety. Like I think a lot of people, maybe even COVID too. Like that's another thing I didn't think about was like the pandemic. Like people didn't go outside, they kind of lost those skills. Um, and I think as people grow up, they're more involved in technology. And I think I have like a theory that the more that you involve yourself in technology, like if your day and your whole life is consumed by technology, like that's all you're surrounded by, which I think majority of people are. I think if you can't find that balance, then I think that it's kind of detrimental to you. At least for me, I guess I should really only speak for me, but I kind of pick up different like cues to kind of further this theory that I have. But the more that you involve yourself in these kind of things, you kind of get away from yourself. And so I feel like maybe that's another big part of why people can't really get out and socialize with others. I know that I struggle with kind of that fear of like that social anxiety. I always thought that I was very introverted, but as I got older, I'm like I kind of like talking to people. I like to talk in general. Um, I just think I lacked a lot of social skills, um, due to really a whole bunch of different factors. And as I've gotten older, I've been able to kind of look within, be more introspective, and understand myself better, and work on things that I think will benefit me in the long run. So like having those social skills, like I think up until recently I've been so like awkward with people in general, like just everything. Like I would avoid eye contact. I didn't know how to talk to people just in a natural like setting, and like making conversation was so difficult. Friends, like I'd be so shy and like awkward around them, but I think it had to do with just a lack of social skills. And as I've gotten to like learn how to talk to people, put myself in positions where like I could, then I've been able to kind of further those skills. I think a big part of like me being able to grow or further my skills had to do a lot with me going to New Jersey, which I haven't actually discussed on the podcast before. But basically, last year I had went to New Jersey for a few months. My car had been out of commission, I guess you could say. The transmission had went out, and and due to like COVID and stuff, I couldn't get it fixed because there was just no parts. They had to ship it from overseas, and that was just a big issue. So like I had to wait for over a year, and eventually got it fixed once I got back from New Jersey. But that whole year, I literally couldn't like I could like I my job was working in my car. I did DoorDash, I did Favor, like whatever other apps I used. Maybe I did like dog sitting jobs, but I couldn't get to these places because I didn't have a car. So I eventually started working with a buddy, and we worked in construction for a little bit. He would pick me up every day, which I didn't really like because I felt like I was relying on him, and I feel like eventually people get kind of tired of that kind of stuff, like picking me up every day, taking me home. Like he's not gonna want to always do that, and he was cool with it, and I think it went relatively well. There were some issues, but I think ultimately it was okay. Eventually, I got fired from that job just uh, due to some, I think, some dumb things, but uh, that I guess that's a story for another time. But anyways, after that, I started working at a car wash kind of near my house, and I could literally walk there, so it was no issue for me. And I always kind of like the thing that I had going for me at that time was like I wasn't in no position to make any demands, so I'm gonna work with what I got and do the best that I can, whatever it is that I can do. So this job wasn't ideal, but it was a job, and I was doing okay on bills. I still had a little bit of money saved up, so I was fine. But I started to realize like I wasn't making enough money. Eventually, I was like, this is gonna catch up to me, and like I remember my uncle talking to me after I got fired from the construction job. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, he's like, well, come to New Jersey, and I was like, yeah, I could, but like I don't know. Like I just was thinking about it. I was like, I don't really know how that's gonna work. Like I have my dog. Like I have my apartment still. Like how am I gonna do this? And I had already paid my rent ahead, so like it was just some minor things. And I was like, no, I think I had some pride. I was like, I just want to figure it out on my own, and I can do it. So I started working at the car wash. Few months in, I think it was maybe like a month and a half. I was like just working one day, and I was like, man, I'm kind of tired of this job. Like it's literally the same thing every single day. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like the money's not good. Like the job was fun. Like I enjoyed the people that I worked with. Like I enjoyed talking to them and kind of like making some friendships. Um, but it was just kind of the same thing every single day, and I got really tired of it like really quickly. Um, so then I was like, you know what? Let me like I literally remember I was like working, and I was like, let me call my uncle. Let me see if I can go still. So I call him up, and we end up discussing like me going over there in the terms of that and what all that kind of entails. And we decided that I was gonna go, I think within a few weeks. Like it was very like quick. And I was like, all right, so I gotta be here at this job. I didn't want to just leave them out. So I think I put like 2 weeks in. And I was like, hey guys, like I'm going to New Jersey, I'm moving to New Jersey. And they're like, what the hell? Like, what are you talking about? Like you just leaving? I'm like, yeah, like I this isn't working for me, and like I'm moving there, whatever. And they're like, all right, cool. Like they didn't really have an issue with it, so uh, they were really cool about it, basically. So started packing up, started figuring out where I was gonna take Lola. Um, then I had to schedule out my flight, and then my flight back. I think I ended up waiting on that, but I ended up getting my flight over there very cheap, actually. Um, I think I spent around $300 round trip, so that's really good. Flying all the way to New Jersey from Texas is just crazy. So um, I was excited because I hadn't flown in a while. So like I said, we kind of discussed what was gonna happen, and ended up going over there. This is a really long-winded story, by the way. Like I just realized like, I'm gonna tie this back into something from earlier, but um, basically, like I went to New Jersey, worked at this country club, and worked there for about 3 months until the season ended. Made, I would say, for the time that I was there, I made really damn good money. Like it was really good. Like it was crazy. I went to New York. These are more stories I could eventually dive into, but to kind of get back to what I was saying, like I'm gonna kind of tie it up here. But yeah, went there, talked to a lot of people of high status as a private club. I worked in outside operations, which basically um, I work like in the cart barn, and so in the cart barn there's golf carts, and there's their clubs. So we would clean them. We would clean off the golf carts, take their trash out. We would greet the members when they come down, make sure that their tee time, which is the time that they scheduled to go out and play, 18 rounds or 18 holes of golf or nine or whatever. Um, we send them out, making sure everybody's good and they're not like overlapping or, people are not getting in the way and things like that. So I got to learn a little bit about golf, and I had to put myself in positions where I had to do that. And a lot of times it was just me and one other guy. So if he wasn't there, I had to learn how to talk to these members about golf, which I didn't really know too much about. I I had to just like think of stuff on the spot, and I really enjoyed it. Like a lot of times I would kind of like shy away from it if I could, but eventually I was like, this is actually really good for me. I think I could learn a lot from this. I'm going to try to put myself in more positions where I have to talk to people. And so I did. And I think overall there was a lot of awkward times for sure, but I always was like, these people will probably never see me again unless I came back, which I considered this year, but it's just more of the the issues with Lola. I think I also couldn't take her, but because they had three dogs there, and their apartment is probably like it's like the size of a hospital room. Like if you like one size of that, add like add like one hospital room and then two rooms to the side, and that's like as big as it is. Like it's very little in a little apartment in New Jersey. They also had like a pit bull dog, and it's a female. So that dog, her name was Desiree. Desiree and Lola, they're not gonna get along. Like it's just not. So decided not to take her. Left her at my mom's house, where she actually ended up getting sick. And this has like kind of been playing a big role into why I didn't go back this year. Is because like if I took her, I'd be scared like she's gonna get sick again because she ate some gum, which is very there's a ingredient or I think it's an ingredient. It's called xylitol, and it's very very toxic for dogs, like very toxic. And she basically got deathly sick, and man, it was expensive. I was like scared. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't be there. Like I was still in New Jersey, like just freaking out. My mom had called me like on FaceTime, and it was just telling me. I was like, well, like I don't. I was just like I was like in shock. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like this is crazy. So yeah, we ended up taking her to the vet. She ended up getting fixed. Um, she was good after like a week or two, thankfully. I would have been so sad, man, if I left home, you know, and not like coming back and not realizing like that was the last time I see my dog. Like that would have just been, man, that would have been devastating. I don't know what that would have done to me, but thankfully, and I'm very grateful for this that she's okay and she's still here and she's doing really well. So that's something I guess that's some good perspective there. But kind of going back to the experience there in New Jersey, I went to New York a couple of times. Went to a comedy show, which I've always wanted to do. Like I've always wanted to go. Um, it was very fun. New York is beautiful. It's crazy. It's cool. It's like it's just it's a really cool place to be for sure. I don't think I would live there for a long period of time, maybe like a handful of months, maybe like even a year, but I wouldn't stay there indefinitely. It's just too much going on. But there's a lot to do, a lot to see. Food's crazy, so many different shops. Um, it's just everything you could imagine is there. It's crazy. So my uncle, he's kind of the one who wanted me to go. I think it was a really good experience for me and him. I didn't know too much about him prior to this. I kind of looked up to him as a kid. He went out and he got like a couple of different degrees in college. He went back a few times, I think. He was in the military for a handful of years. And overall, I think he's just a very successful man. So I looked up to him, and I didn't really have a father figure kind of growing up. Um, and so, like, I think he kind of wanted to be that for me. And so when we're there, we're butting heads a lot because growing up, I didn't have that. So like, we just butted heads a lot, which I think strengthened our relationship a lot. Um, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself and him, and I seen a lot of things in him that I can also see in myself. So that was very cool, and gave me a lot of perspective into my own life, into my own issues, because a lot of things that a lot of things that we struggle with, I don't think people really recognize that it just continues down the legacy, like, and the family tree. Like, I can see a lot of things in my grandpa that are in him, and then even like to me and my mom, and like different things like that. And if you like start to ask questions about uh, I don't know, maybe things they struggle with, you find that it's very similar to things that you may have, like whether it's mental health issues or like um, physiological issues, such as like we have like phlegm in the family, so I get a lot of phlegm in the morning. That stems down from like my great grandpa, like it's crazy. And even just talking to them, like I got to my grandpa recently, like been talking to him for the past uh, since I got back from New Jersey. I kind of hang out with him a lot and get to know him and where he came from and his parents, and like it it just sheds a light on kind of who I am. I guess I don't know if that's like really the best analogy for that, but it's helped me a lot. And so, I appreciate my uncle for kind of inviting me out there and doing his best to kind of help me grow up a little bit. And I think since then is when I like that was another big jump for me in terms of like growing up. I think the past like year or two, I guess I should say maybe like 2.5 years now, is more accurate. But I've been really trying to like grow as much as I can because I feel like I've fallen a lot and in so many different ways. And so I'm very proud of the man that I am today, um, which feels really good saying because I haven't been able to say that for a long time. Yeah, I feel like I can really say that now. And I think as time goes on, I just see more and more growth within myself. I always get better in little ways. And like, I look back on my life and I'm like, or not my life, more specifically, I look back on the past, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, and where I'm at now, I could never see myself being here. Like I always talked about YouTube and making videos, and I just never did it. I talked about being more like stable and having like a job and like just being more of like a grown up and kind of being like, just growing into a man, like a young man and a young adult. I feel pretty good, kind of knowing that and looking back now. Like it feels really good to kind of sit here and reflect a little bit as I'm kind of sharing my experience with you. Um, but uh, but yeah, I learned a lot, and I think those experiences in New Jersey and working at the country club and um, even like like trying to like I guess like there was this girl that I was like trying to talk to when I first got to New Jersey, and she ended up having a boyfriend, I kind of got turned down, but I felt really good because I kind of put myself in a position to talk to her. Like I would just talk about, you know, whatever. And it was kind of like the first few times that I really like could talk to a girl, get to know her, even if it didn't lead anywhere. Like I had enough courage to like to just do it because I remember feeling so scared. I would go to the restroom and I would just be like, all right, come on, we're gonna walk back through there and we're gonna talk to her and whatever. And then eventually I got the courage to ask her out, but like I said, she had a boyfriend, so I was like, whatever. Um, but it was cool. Like it was a really cool experience, and even when she turned me down, it was like I laughed about it too. Like I wouldn't take it too seriously. I wasn't all mad about it or like petty and be like, whatever. Like you're ugly. Like you know, I know a lot of dudes who will do that, and I'm like, I didn't want to be like that. So I was like, nah. It is what it is, and it was cool after like I could talk to her and it wasn't awkward or anything still. So you know, it is what it is. So I think that helped a lot, and kind of looking into to like now when I'm working at Amazon, there's people that I can talk to. I'm still a little bit awkward, I think sometimes, um, maybe like socially anxious, but it's definitely nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Like I couldn't even. I would just think way too much, and I was like, I can't talk to these people. Like, what if they think this? What if this? What if this? What if that? Like little things, and they just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But even now, like just talking about it seems weird. I was like, that was a fear that I had. Like that's just it's not even like logical. It doesn't make any sense. Like that's not gonna happen. Like I don't know, just weird little things that I would do, and I'm like, nah, it's just not it. But kind of tying it back in, like I think a lot of people may struggle with things like that, and it's very hard. It's very hard to go out and do it, and learn how to talk to people and put yourself in those positions because that's an opportunity to fail, to look awkward, to look dumb, to look stupid, and you know, it's best to just avoid it. So, or it seems that it's best to just avoid it so you don't have to deal with the consequences of that. But with that, you kind of grow, like you learn, and that was, that was another big thing that I remember, like always thinking about last year, um, was like every fool, no, every master was once a fool. Like you can't be a master unless you're a fool. Like you just can't. Like even with this YouTube thing, like I'm sure that I'm gonna look back and I'll be like, yo, I think I talk about this all the time actually, but I'm gonna look back and be like, yo, what the hell is this? What the hell is this kid doing, bro? Like he don't even know what he's doing. But through all these mistakes, I can look. Hopefully, I can look back and just kind of laugh on him, and be like, at least he was trying. Like that's all I can say. But I think you just have to you have to confront those kind of those doubts and those fears and those those anxious like internal voices, or like, stigma that the mind will create, because if you don't, then it kind of consumes you and it just takes over your life. And I've definitely learned to understand that, like, the mind is like not you in a way, like you have something deeper within you that's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's very like hard to articulate how like through meditation and like understanding some of the problems that I have within myself, and the research that I've done, and the therapy that I've like gone to, and like listened to myself speak and talk about my issues in a way where I can kind of like relay it to you guys, and in a way that's like understandable. Um, but basically, it's like, you have your physical body and your control of it, and the mind, you're supposed to be in control of that. But I think for a long time, the mind was controlling me. And it's weird to say that, because it's like, that's my mind, right? Like, isn't it mine? But it, in a way, it's kind of not. Like, it's the same thing with my body. Like, my body's not really mine. It, I guess you could maybe call it like a soul. And so it's like, there's this you that's like deeper within you, and then you get to control your body, and your mind and things like that. And so, like, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I don't think I have enough knowledge to articulate it, but maybe somebody will kind of get the general idea of what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's kind of where I've been at on that VR shit. Like, it's been fun, and I actually have some things that I want to mess around with on that, and I think it's cool. Like, I don't mind it, and I haven't felt the way that I have about playing that, and in general, just any game, in a long time. Like, I would remember being a kid, I'd play different games, and I was like, yo, I would go to sleep thinking about it. I'm like, I can't wait to play that game tomorrow. I have dreams about it. Like, I'd feel anxious because I just wanted to like play it. I was like, and that's kind of how I felt the past few days. And I would eventually kind of cave in and do it. But as I was doing it, I kind of observed myself, and like why I was there, what's addicting, or like yeah, what's addicting about it, and why I'm there. Um, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it just has to be in moderation. So I'm trying to keep that in mind, keep that balance. But this is more important to me, so that's why I'm making an effort here to mess around with this. But I think I think that's kind of where I'm going to end it today. There are some other things that I could dive into. I kind of kept a little bit of things kind of vague, but those are stories for another time, you know, and some memories that I can cherish. Hopefully, I can share with you guys one day. But I do appreciate you guys listening in today. And like I said, I am on different platforms now. So if you don't want to watch on YouTube, you can go to podcasts, whatever podcast that you listen to. So podcast platforms, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever it is you use. And if there is any one that you use in particular that it's not on, like the platform, just let me know. And I'll make an effort to put it on there so that way you can listen to it on whatever it is that you do listen to it on. And I'm going to go ahead and plug my channel again right here. If you haven't checked out my main channel, it's it's Create Germ. And over there I'm doing like vlogs, I'm doing gaming, different things like that. I got some more ideas coming about as I'm getting more back into YouTube again. I'm doing my best to stick with it, but it's a journey, and I think over time I'll get better. But again, I appreciate you guys listening in. And one last thing too, I forgot I had these on, so if you're watching, you're probably like wondering what these are. There's like tape on my back. I kind of had some like injuries and from work, and I just went to go get them kind of taken care of, and they put these on me so the way that I keep my posture, and I keep my shoulders back a little bit so that way that everything kind of heals correctly. Basically, the tape is to hold my posture so that way that we don't undo any of the work that we just did to my injuries. So that's kind of what that is, and I think I just wanted to share that because I'm sure people are like, what's up with these things? But yeah, that's what that is. So again, I appreciate you guys coming in, checking me out, listening in, and sticking to the end. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. There's going to be a few other podcasts you can watch. Somewhere on the screen here, I'll leave them. My channel will be in the description. My main channel, as well as some of the podcast platforms that you guys may be listening to, as well. And yeah, that's all I got for tonight. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.